Good day, I'm Dr. T and welcome to my office. Today I'd like to talk about units. So the standard agreed upon units for international trade are based around the SI system, or System International, which was developed in the 1960s, although updated as recently as the summer of 2019 in a totally not controversial decision. Now, the System International had evolved from the metric system. And that, of course, had come in the wake of the French Revolution. Now, with the metric system, it actually didn't stay fixed. It didn't stay constant. We don't use the metric system effectively at all, even though we tend to call the SI system the metric system. There are some noticeable differences. So the metric system, for starters, has a series of what's known as base units. These are each defined based on, in the metric system, an artifact or some physical property. Thus, you have the meter. The meter is the length of this bar in Paris. The kilogram is the mass of this platinum iridium thing in Paris. And remember, this was French. That one particularly is known as Le Grand K, the Great K. And then, okay, we've got this. But as time progresses, there's a push to move away from artifacts like the Le Grand K, which oddly enough persisted as the definition of the kilogram up until the summer of 2019. And more towards physical constants of the world. So the meter is now no longer defined based on the length of a bar or based on, originally it was the core basis was off of the length of longitude running through Paris kind of thing. But that was a really funky thing to measure. So then it was like, here's a bar. This bar is now a meter. And now it's based on the distance a photon of light travels in a very small part of time. That way you have a fundamental constant, and thus, one, you can measure it very, very precisely if you want to, and two, you can't accidentally lose it, which would be, bad. Now, going with the metric system, it actually evolves in the 19th century into the centimeter gram second system, which you still actually see floating around a fair amount. If you see cc's, this is coming from the centimeter gram second system. It's surprising how resilient ideas are to going away. But yeah, so you've got the gram, or the centimeter gram second system. That persists for quite a while, does get a few updates. There's a couple of other systems that I'm not going to jump into, up until you get the SI system in the 1960s, and then once again, that is an adapted system. It does keep changing. Hopefully no major changes for the nice long future. A couple of the noteworthy changes, other than kind of how the base units are defined. So base units are defined based off of a physical constant, and then there are derived units. So you've got the liter. The liter is derived off of the meter. Now, I will also point out that in the SI system, the liter is considered an acceptable but not actually part of the system, which is one of those interesting ones. Like, we're going to keep the unit, but we're not actually going to say it's part of the system. And this is actually, in some respects, how the United States customary units work. The imperial system is long gone. The inches, feet, and whatnot, that's United States customary units. And those are all based off of and defined by their corresponding SI units. So an inch is defined as 2.54 centimeters, and that's what makes an inch an inch. Okay. So yeah, you've got your series of units. The evolution of these guys does change from how you base them, which one's kind of your core units. An interesting change ends up being with the units for temperature. In the old metric system, we've got centigrade or Celsius, which are the same thing, just different ways of calling it. And really with the modern SI system, we're using Kelvin, which is the same size units, but at a different 0 point. The 0 point of Kelvin is absolute zero, the point where you can't get any colder, whereas the 0 point of Celsius is the freezing point of pure water. There are definitely reasons that I'll get to in later videos as to why you would want that change, and it is actually relatively important for some applications. So with that said, you got yourself some units. Talk to you later.